making mundane things more like, can I grocery shop in this amount of time? Let's see. If anyone says like, oh, that's not possible, or oh, that's too hard, and there's just a little part of my brain that wants to know if it is. The last adventure was a 33-hour run, so 138 miles. Like, no doctor is ever going to be like, yeah, I think that's a great idea, go run 100 miles. I rode my bike across America on a hand bike because I had a broken pelvis. I don't know if like people who may be labeled as radical think of themselves as such. I am Katie Spotz, and I am an endurance athlete. I channel my passion for endurance to help people get clean water to drink. Definitely, yeah, didn't decide to be an endurance athlete. I would say that my journey to doing endurance sports was more or less an accident. I was taking college courses in my high school years, and basically I had enough credits to get an associate's, but I didn't have a gym class to get my high school diploma. So I picked a running walking class because I was like, well, I'm just going for this easy A, and I know that, yeah, walking would have been the easiest way to do that. And it was through that class that I was forced to be there 3 days a week. And after a week or two, I was like, I guess I'll try to run. I thought running meant like sprinting as fast as you can just to get it over with kind of thing. So the first mile I ran, it was not pretty. I didn't know how to pace myself, and it was pretty miserable, like just like, yeah, but I was really excited because I did something I never thought I could. I never thought I could run a mile. And so that 1 mile was something that I continued to, okay, maybe I could go a little bit further. So 1 mile turned into 2, 2 into 3, and that's really where that journey began, just one mile. So my last endurance challenge was Run for Water, and it was a non-stop run, which meant I didn't sleep, other than changing outfits a few times and at night putting on a few extra layers. It was a continuous run, yeah. And so I started 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning and then finished around, a little bit after lunchtime on Sunday. I mean, I've had people who are like, who's telling you to do that? Like, who's making you do that? And I really enjoy, it's just kind of like that kid-like wonder of being like, can I climb that? Can I cross that? Can I, and yeah, so a lot of my adventures weren't going on a website and registering. It was just being like, yeah, kind of curious to see if that's possible. So like swimming the Allegheny River, that was an adventure that, it was a 325-mile swim, swimming the entire river. Running across the Mojave and Colorado Desert were also like just kind of exploring and yeah. So out of all the different endurance challenges, there are some that have been organized, like the Ironman races and a few of the 100-mile runs that I've done, but the ones that kind of feed and fuel me the most are the ones that are just kind of like, let's look at a map, let's see what we can swim or bike or run across. And so most of the bigger challenges are just, like rowing the Atlantic. Some of the telltale like signs for me is if it's an idea that I'm really trying to ignore, it's usually the very thing that I really need to do. Like if it scares me, if it intimidates me, so I don't have, I've never been the like bucket list and here are all the things, because truthfully, if it happens the way it has, very organically, it's better than anything that I would have written down on a piece of paper. One of the biggest things that endurance has shown me is that we do have so much potential that's unexplored and untapped. If I was to take one piece out of what I do and say it would be like just the physical limits that like there's the limit and you're just riding it and it could be dangerous. And I think because of practice I've been better at like really monitoring my body. But like no doctor is ever going to be like, yeah, I think that's a great idea, go run 100 miles. Like this isn't healthy. And I know that it is putting a lot of pressure and stress on my body. Even this last one, I had something called like rhabdo, where it's just where your muscles are breaking down, and it's hard for your body to flush out all the toxins that are being released in the bloodstream. But I do what I can to help, and I think 138 was my limit. I think it's been reached. I don't think I want to run any further on road. Maybe longer on trail, but I think that's it was very difficult those last like 3, 4, 5 miles. I guess like from like what I understand of the word radical, it just means like going against the norm or doing something bold or those would be kind of like where that fits in my brain. I don't know if like people who may be labeled as radical think of themselves as such. And I was thinking, well, who is radical and who would actually who would say, yes, I am radical? And I couldn't think of it. I'm like, is Lady Gaga radical? Because she like, do you know anyone who'd be like, yes, I am radical? Like, to me, what would feel radical is to ignore a calling that you have, like to deny something that's true to you. So I don't think of myself as radical. I think of the water crisis as being like a radical problem. Like it's a problem with solutions, and yet we still have it. So I would say that the endurance challenges are no more radical than the problem that they're trying to alleviate. I didn't really know much about the water crisis until I was living on the other side of the globe. So I was studying in Australia, and I was studying environmental science, and one of my professors mentioned that the wars of the future would be on water, and in some countries it's already the case. And that was the one little nugget that was dropped, and I just had to find out more. And when I did do my homework and I did do that research to find out more about the water crisis, I just felt like kind of embarrassed and ashamed in that moment, because it was like, here I am, a 20-something, and I'm not aware of what 1 in 6 people are dealing with every single day, and their whole life is around this one issue. And then I was thinking about like, it definitely had a journey from that moment to anger to confusion to like, I was frustrated, I was confused, I just felt like, wow, we can do so much better than this. And then there was hope when I started to see what was being done and how it was being done. And I think there's a lot of problems that are really hard to wrap your head around, because there aren't these clear-cut solutions. And of course, with water, there are some complexities, but there's also a lot of effective solutions. And cost-effective ones. And so once I found out that there were people and organizations doing something about it, it was very natural for me to want to do something. And as someone who, I would say that I can be kind of heady and logical, and if you want to solve a problem, like half of the hospital beds are filled because of unsafe water. So instead of, not saying that any cause is not worthy of support, but what I do love seeing with water is it goes to ground level. So it goes to the first step out of poverty. So it helps with environment, it helps with school, it helps with women empowerment. So like kids, when I was in Kenya, wouldn't be in school because they were collecting water. It was their job to. So when their schools could have water, when their communities can have water, that gives these kids an opportunity to go to school and get an education. And so once I learned more about how water really is everything and touches all aspects of life, it made me, like, okay, of course we gotta help and do something here. Why do radical things? It's like, why not? I mean, we have this one life, and tomorrow is not promised to us. So I just think that every day is an opportunity to live life to the fullest. And I think it usually people regret the things that they haven't done, they didn't do. And so I think the alternative is regret. The alternative is unfulfilled potential. The alternative is that lingering feeling of what if. The alternative is looking at other people and saying, wow, I wish I could. Or the alternative is looking at other people and saying, wow, that's so crazy, because that feels like the only thing you can do to feel better about not living a radical or bold or different life. And so I think this is almost like awkward to be put in this lens, because I feel like I'm doing what's intuitive and instinctual for me, and it of course comes with like the reaction of others, whether that's how many times that I've heard like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. But even the row, I had two options, which was I was either going to row across the Atlantic, or I would spend the rest of my life wondering why I didn't. And if you look at that from a logical standpoint, I think that the most logical thing would be to do it rather than spend years just sitting in regret. So it doesn't sound so radical. The most radical thing you could do is nothing.